What's going on? This is Mr. Wilson, 1/3 of ByLOFI, and you're about to witness the beat breakdown of Lil Arrogant, produced by LOFI and BiggKid. Let's get into it. Funny thing is, the beat was originally made for Schoolboy Q. We had got a phone call the day before we made the record from Tay Beats. Shout out Tay Beats, by the way. He's like, yo, y'all got any records for Schoolboy? He's putting together an album. He's like, say no more. So we were supposed to head to the studio, but my wife ended up having complications with the pregnancy. So we ended up going to the hospital, found out we had to stay overnight. I brought my equipment with me, and later on that night, she went to sleep, and I got to work. I made a couple of records. We sent out a batch. Lil Arrogant was in that. Schoolboy Q ended up passing on the record, but that's all good because without that happening, this couldn't happen. So shout out Schoolboy Q, by the way. Alright, so I opened up FL Studio. Shout out FL Studio, by the way, gang, 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 gang. I pretty much already had the sample, in mind that I want to use, but a lot of times I got to start with my drums just to get the feel rocking, you know what I'm saying? So I opened up Battery. And I just loaded up a couple drums, nothing, crazy. I think I got like 5 drums in this joint. I think a kick, a snare, another snare, hi-hat, whatever. I just did like a simple boom bap pattern. I knew I wanted something gritty, but I wanted something simple as well for the artist to be able to shine on. So started off with the kick, and that's the accent, and it just went in something like this. So I got the drum pattern going, and this is what it sounded like once I ended up recording it. Real simple drum pattern, boom bap, 90s style joint. So after that, I ended up adding a sample. I used Serato Sample. If y'all not hit the Serato Sample, y'all need to get hip right now. Go get that joint immediately. Cool. So I ended up loading up Serato Sample or whatever, and I chopped the sample. I chopped it up in bits and pieces. But what really stuck out to me was the beginning of the sample. So this is what it sounds like, just plain straightforward. So as you can hear, the joint is really slowed down. I de-pitched it a lot. I do that a lot with samples because I wanted to sound very grungy, you know what I'm saying? I don't even know if that's a word. I wanted to sound dirty, you know what I mean? And I de-pitch it a lot to get that feel. So that's a key for y'all out there sampling. So once I ended up laying the sample, this is what it sounded like together. Was the loop. I sat on that loop for about a good hour just vibing to it because it was so simple, but it was so hard, you know what I'm saying? I knew it didn't really need much, but in the midst of that, I knew I needed some type of transition that led into something else. So what I did was I got a break. I just took the drum roll completely out of it, and this is what that sounded like. So after I pretty much laid the foundation to the beat, I looped it over and over and over again. And as I heard it, I'm like, yo, 50 Cent will go crazy on this. It's just like some old school 50 Cent G-Unit type shit, you know what I'm saying? So the funny thing is that when I first heard Russ's verse, I heard him reference 50 Cent. Somebody gonna die tonight. And I was like, yo, I know we were on the same page with this record, you know what I'm saying? That's how you know it's godly. And it's put together like that, it's definitely God, you know what I'm saying? Straight up. So that was pretty much the foundation of the record. It was pretty simple, but I knew Enable for it to survive in 2018, it had to have something bigger. So I knew it had to have something bigger in the hook, some type of bass line, and some fill-ins here and there. So I ended up reaching out to my homeboy BiggKid. Shout out BiggKid, by the way. Phenomenal producer. Y'all need to go follow him ASAP. So let's go ahead and jump into his session and see what his process was behind the beat.
What's up? This is BiggKid. I'm explaining what I did for my half of the beat for Lil Arrogant, IDK, Joe, Bada and Russ. Alright, so when LOFI sent me the stems, the first thing I thought the beat needed was some more low end to really make it knock when you play it in the systems. So obviously it needed a bass line, so I added a bass line and then a couple kicks to just fill up that low end, which sound like this. And what I used for that bass was Trillian, because it's got a really nice like live sounding bass. And then next I just added some more keys. Sound like this. And then and I used Keyscape for those keys. And then lastly to this section I added some effects and stuff, but I also added these vocal like samples. Gave him a nice long delay. I just thought the beat sounded real like haunting, and anytime it's like a dark haunting beat like that, I kind of just throw them on there to add some texture, and all together it sounds like that for this section. And originally that's all the beat was. The beat was just this one section. It was just a loop. But I felt like it needed some diversity, like a B section to break the beat up. So I went ahead creating this section. Which is kind of the break between each of the rappers' verses. And it just gives the ear something fresh, fresh and new. So what I started off was actually taking the original sample, which LOFI had flipped, and I reversed it and chopped it up into a new sequence, so it sounded like this. Then added the bass line. Added some drums. Also added this little vocal texture which you can't really hear, but it just helped give a more like melodic element to that section. It's real tucked in the back. It's just a vocal synth. And then all together, couple more effects and stuff like that, and all together it just sounds like this. At the end of this section, I put a little drum fill in to just help transition back into the verses. And then it should sound like this. And that's pretty much the beat.
This what you all been waiting for, ain't it? What people paid paper for, damn it. This that going to the gun range with the click, clack, pow. Aiming that boy from PG, but DC still claim him. And I ain't gotta act like I'm from there, I'm real. Some rappers magicians, they trick you, they cap a field.